a bunch of snowflakes. Hundreds of schools across Britain are closed, a day after first serious snowfall hits roads and rail. It was the first serious snowfall of the winter, and predictably much of the country was paralyzed yesterday. But, even though gritters will have tackled what is left of the snow overnight, England's second city will still grind to a halt today, much to the chagrin of parents and workers. Although little snow is expected today, all schools in Birmingham will be shut, bus services scrapped and bin collections abandoned. Critics branded the closures ridiculous and said authorities were too quick to shut schools in bad weather. Some 200,000 children will have an extra day off after the decision by Birmingham City Council, Britain's largest local authority. Bin collections in the city were cancelled because it was not safe for people to take their rubbish out. Other schools across the country are also closed today, as yesterday saw the effect of a so-called snow bump, in which moist air from the Atlantic comes up against a rapidly increasing whirlpool of violently strong winds and storms from the Arctic. The West Midlands was one of the worst affected areas, with around 8 inches of snow, although much of it in the city centre had turned to slush last night. The weather also exposed the fragility of Britain's transport network. Roads were closed, bus and train services cancelled and airports temporarily shut down. Thousands of homes were left without power, and events across the country were cancelled, including, ironically, the ice rink installed at the Quays in Gloucester. Shopping outlet Bicester Village, Oxfordshire, was left without electricity, and was forced to close early at midday, while a Christmas market in Lincolnshire was also shut, to the frustration of shoppers. The travel chaos is expected to continue today, with forecasters warning of treacherous conditions on the roads as freezing overnight temperatures turn the snow into deadly black ice. The RAC said so-called Black Monday is set to be one of its busiest days for 10 years, with an estimated 11,000 call-outs. Temperatures were expected to plunge as low as 12°C, 10°F, overnight, as the Met Office issued a yellow weather warning for ice covering central and southern England and northern Scotland. Birmingham City Council said its schools were closed due to the recent adverse weather and forecast for freezing conditions. Colin Diamond, Birmingham's children's director, said even if pupils could walk to school, the council could not guarantee there would be enough staff there to look after them. Schools were also set to shut in Gloucestershire, Hertfordshire, Buckinghamshire and Worcestershire, even though little snow was expected to fall today. In Gloucestershire, more than 60 schools will be closed, as well as more than 50 in Worcestershire, and 75 in Powys. Other closures were announced in Shropshire, Essex, Staffordshire, Derbyshire, Leicestershire and Buckinghamshire. Even schools in London were planning to shut their doors today. Draper's Academy, which runs a number of schools in Romford, East London, said it was closing because staff did not think they would be able to get in. But while some parents welcomed a snow day, others were incredulous. Michelle Skeels wrote on Facebook, "How ridiculous. It will be melted by tomorrow." Margaret Morrissey, of campaign group Parents Out Loud, said, "I think the schools are too quick to close, it is the easy option. I think the decision to close all of the schools in a city as big as Birmingham is quite frankly ridiculous." The heaviest snowfall yesterday was in Sennybridge, in the Brecon Beacons, where over a foot of snow was recorded, making roads impassable. In England nearly 7 inches was recorded in High Wycombe, Buckinghamshire. Motorists endured gridlock as they battled the treacherous conditions. Many motorways were closed temporarily, and there were severe delays on the M25, with multiple incidents of vehicles crashing into others. Meanwhile, Highways England claimed the snow chaos on the M40, where hundreds of cars were stranded, was caused by a lack of vehicles on the road. The agency said it had deployed 8 gritters to the motorway in Warwickshire but that the rock salt was not spread adequately by drivers. A spokesman said, "There was a lot of snow, and the action of the salt relies on traffic. And it was a Sunday and the emergency services were telling people not drive, so there were not enough cars for it to be effective." It was described as looking like a war zone after a series of crashes on Sunday. Furious drivers took to social media, accusing local councils and Highways England of failing to grit many roads. Rail passengers also endured major disruption, with most operators announcing delays and cancellations, while travelers in areas with the heaviest snowfall were advised not to go out at all. Yesterday evening, Network Rail announced no cross-country trains would run between Birmingham and Bristol in both directions because of a landslide caused by the extreme weather. Buses were also affected, as National Express West Midlands announced yesterday evening that all its bus and coach services across Birmingham and the West Midlands had been suspended until further notice. Meanwhile, flights were temporarily suspended at Luton and Birmingham airports and there were delays at Heathrow and Stansted. Passengers complained of being trapped on a British Airways plane at Heathrow for more than 4 hours while receiving little information from the airline. Another 4 BA flights bound for the airport were diverted 300 miles away to Newcastle. People also suffered at home, as up to 24,000 homes in Oxfordshire, Berkshire and Wiltshire had their electricity cut off after snow and wind blew branches into the overhead network. Thousands more homes across the southwest of England, West Midlands and Wales were affected by power cuts. In the West Midlands, the Heart of England Trust said it was inundated with offers of help after it put out an appeal on Twitter for drivers of 4x4 vehicles to ferry nurses to hospitals. Forecasters said high pressure will move across the UK tomorrow, bringing widespread fine and dry but still cold conditions. However, the Met Office said it was also keeping an eye on Storm Anna, which could bring wet and windy weather to parts of southern England, not to mention the potential for more snow.